Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher and I have been rooting for Afghanistan way before the 23 World Cup. Yesterday, Root wanted to play spoil sport for a bit, but boy, oh boy, what a game it was. The twists and turns. I had to turn straight into the Cricbuzz studio and ask our wise men what Pakistan and Bangladesh need to learn from Afghanistan's hunger. I've got the OGs back in the house. Harsha Bhogle and Joy Bhattacharya. OG?
It depends on what O stands for in your definition.
I'm just checking the Gen
If O stands for original, I'm okay. If O stands for old, I'm looking away.
No, it's the original gangsters in the house. That's what OGs are for. So
Yes.
really happy to have you both back onto the show because I have to give you all this update that it's raining and it's drizzling. So there's going to be a little bit of a delay. But when you have both of them in the house, you can expect non-stop entertainment. So that's why I have both of
You started well, though, I must admit. You started well with a play on words. I was rooting for Afghanistan. And Joe, I thought you would have said Joe scored a lot of runs for England.
But then I had to plug the root in.
Yes.
Yes, credit to also the producer who's given me the line today because it's his great writing, so I don't take the
That's
credit.
why the honest never made.
Babe, honest never made.
No, but what a game, Joy. That was that one day I was off. I was glued to my television and iPad. I was traveling. The twists and turns, especially the last 10 overs, you didn't know where the game was going. The most exciting game of the tournament.
No, absolutely. And I think the big thing about it was that when you thought that Afghanistan had finally got hold of it, and then Root kept playing and then it got closer in the last 3-4 overs, and you said, okay, now Afghanistan had begun to collapse. You know, the pressure is too much for them. And then they came back, they got Archer out, then they took those wickets, and the way Omarzai bowled at that time, I think that's the thing, that a lot of teams, they can, when they're leading from the front, they're leading, but when they come very close to victory, they start imagining it, then it becomes difficult for them. And them holding their nerve, I think, is just one more step in the evolution of Afghanistan as a team.
But
Absolutely, because if you look at Sri Lanka when they were starting out, they'd get into very good positions and lose. Bangladesh get into very good positions and lose. That is the evolution of a side because winning is not something they're used to doing. Winning is a new phenomenon. They've never been there. So when they get into a winning position, they don't actually know what to do. And the idea of winning overwhelms them. In course of time, your maturity is displayed by how comfortable you are by the idea of winning. And Bangladesh have started to pull out games. Last time against Australia, you just thought, oops, are they still choking? Are they still not quite there? Yesterday's game was brilliant. And I mean, you look at someone like a Jamie Overton. He's winning the game for you. You're 17 of 14 balls to win. You knock it around. You can win easily.
Yes.
And he just chips one straight to the fielder. Because we often say in sport, never underestimate the fear in the opposition camp. So maybe England were tense too.
yes, we could see it on Joss Butler's face. You could see some very tense faces in their dugout.
And there were a lot of things riding on this. A lot of people thinking, will our places be secure in the team? This is now the third ICC tournament. We've been knocked out of early. Will there be a purge? Will there be a lot of changes? Both Michael Vaughan on our program yesterday, Michael Atherton said it's time for Butler to go. Though they said it in a positive sense, they said it's time for him to go and for us to rediscover the genius of Butler's batsmanship. But that team, I don't know. Honestly, they are so, as to use an English word, well-resourced. And yet, I don't know. Do you just look at them and say, not good enough? There's such hyped players like Brook and Livingston and... No, they were not good enough. But you have to applaud. Yesterday was not about England, it was about Afghanistan.
Well, you said it was all about Afghanistan and the maturity they're playing with. The biggest learning you think for Pakistan and Bangladesh is going to be how to convert those close games into wins.
Yeah, I think one thing has really helped them, which Sri Lanka did not have or Bangladesh did not have early on, is that a lot of these Afghan players play franchise cricket around the world. Okay, and they play in all sorts of conditions. And in many of the smaller areas, they are the leaders. I mean, Omarzai, who's playing in a smaller league, is a guy who's expected to take his team home. So when you have players who have that kind of experience all over the globe, okay, each of these guys is playing 5 to 6 leagues, okay. And I've seen, the other thing is that you have Afghan supporters anywhere in the world. I've seen them in Canada, I've seen them in the US, you see them everywhere. So they have that experience which a Bangladesh or a Sri Lanka never got when they started their international career. And I think they're making full use of it, the way they're playing, the maturity that their players are showing. What I'm amazed at is their 20-over journey, therefore I can understand why it is and why they are genuine T20 semi-finalists. Their 50-over journey is more interesting because it's not a format that is played internationally very much at all.
It's interesting to see how when teams first arrive on a certain platform, they're full of some good players. It's how the next gen does that determines how good you are as a team. Let's look at 3 examples. You look at Kenya. When Kenya were playing their best cricket, there were the Odombes, the Tikolos, the Sujis, the Ravindu Shahs, all these people, and they formed a very good team. And then suddenly a group of people turned up and you said, really? You look at Zimbabwe when they first started. David Houghton, the Flower Brothers, Edo Brandes, Heath Streak, Murray Goodwin, Neil Johnson. You look at that team that played the 99 World Cup. What followed thereafter, and that is why Zimbabwe went off. That is why Kenya went off. Look at Ireland. The O'Brien brothers, you had the Trent Johnston, you had all these guys doing really well. After that, there's nothing. The players didn't develop. You're starting to see players not developing in Sri Lanka. You're seeing players not developing in Bangladesh. Extremely gifted players not becoming who they should be. Afghanistan is the opposite. Who are these two? Who are the next gen players from the first lot that brought Afghanistan up? Azmatullah Omarzai. 3 years ago, you didn't know who he was. Ibrahim Zadran, 3 years ago, you didn't know who he was. Noor, who's coming in, Noor, Mujib, all these guys are coming in along with Uncle Nabi. He's still there.
Yes.
There are only 2 people who are always stay in cricket, Rajiv Shukla and Nabi Sahab. They're the only 2 people who will survive everything below.
Yeah, he's going to be there for a long time. But, just taking forward what you're talking about is, I at no means am comparing Team Pakistan to probably what Zimbabwe, Kenya went through. But you said that they're not finding those new players. Somewhere do you think Pakistan is also struggling to find those new players? And, what has changed? They were defending champions. They were the hosts. They have changed 9 coaches in 8 years. So just constant changes of coaches, constant change of management. Do you think that's probably the reason they're not backing their playing 15 or not finding new talent?
I mean, if you look at it, it's actually 8 coaches in literally 5 to 6 years, because at least Mickey Arthur had a respectable 3 years. He had a respectable 3-year run. After that, it's got sort of faster. No, I think, look, the fact of the matter is whether at this point in time, who is sitting out there outside who you're looking at and saying this guy needs to come in immediately, he's not got a chance, they've selected the wrong team. And I think Aqib Javed was very honest about it.
Yes.
I mean, are they selecting the right team? The truth is, the better question to ask is, do they have the talent? Who is the new talent in Pakistan? Who is there that they're looking at and saying, these guys are going to be the top players?
Well, this is something...
Do one more thing. Look at Pakistan in the under-19 tournament.
Yeah.
Pakistan used to be a force in under-19 cricket. They are no longer in the scene at all. You will not see Pakistan doing that well in under-19 tournament. A tournament where now Bangladesh does pretty well.
I'd still like to believe that in the system, the wild, chaotic system, it'll keep throwing up people. It is then up to the mentors, the system, to take a player from here up to here. Imran Khan was the greatest at that. Took a Wasim, took a Waqar, took an Inzamam, took players like those, Sayyid Anwar, took players like those and made them into absolute greats. And that is why Imran would be the greatest captain that Pakistan will ever have. Absolutely. Now look what is happening. So many talented players coming through, and you look at them and you say, wow, in 3 years they'll be here. And in 3 years, they're here. And that includes people like Shaheen Shah Afridi. It includes people like Naseem Shah. I don't know if you first saw, when you first saw Naseem Shah, if you didn't just do this.
155,
if you didn't just do this and say,
a 17-year-old kid doing that.
Where is this? Whether you were 17 or not.
Oh, now 19,
matter.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Just look like this. You saw Shaheen Afridi, you looked at this and you said, for the next 10 years. No, Naseem Shah is not even there. He's dropped a notch. Shaheen Afridi has dropped a notch.
So is it the coaches you feel that there's just no...
Or I don't know what the air they're breathing. I don't know what the air they're breathing is. Are they desperate to want to do well, to get better? There are a couple of batters I saw. Saim Ayub, unfortunately, was injured. The thing is, if you don't play a tournament, you become the greatest player in the world. Because if you are there, all the planets would have changed, all the constellations would have changed, and suddenly Mohammad Shami would have gone 10 overs for 155. Everything would have changed when you're injured and you're not there. But he's a very good player. Yes. But look at all the Fakhar Zaman. Did he become the world player that you thought he would become? I saw Abdullah Shafiq bat, and Ramiz was telling me suddenly he's got into all kinds of technical issues. So players are coming up, but they're not becoming the players they can be. Why are they not becoming the players they can be? That graphic there. Not just that graphic. What is behind that graphic? Remember, I sat on this very chair and said, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday is Zaka Ashraf. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is Najam Sethi. On Sunday, they sit and decide who should start the next week. Now there's a new chairman. The new chairman suddenly says, we're going to play one-day cricket, and he appoints 5 mentors. Pays 5 mentors the kind of money that Pakistan Cricket Board may or may not be able to afford, and all of a sudden it's there. Tomorrow there'll be another chairman. Then what happens? And it is that churn at the top that is causing the churn at the bottom. I mean, it's very easy for us to sit here. We hate it when people from outside and say, this is what India should do, right? So I'm sure people in Pakistan, if they do watch this, they're hating me for saying this because it's very easy to say this. But sometimes it's good to hear what people outside are saying about you.
The other thing is that with all it's not that the Indian cricket is a house where everyone loves everyone and everything is in order. We've had committees taking over, we had stuff taken over. But none of it was ever allowed to touch upon the cricket that was being played. So whatever happened, whether this was the right thing for BCCI, whether the governors... the cricket was never impacted. And I think that is the one single favor that we have done. That your basic cricket infrastructure, system, coaching remained stable throughout all of it.
Did Kohli become a better player from 2011?
100%.
Did Bumrah become a better player from 2013? Has Shubman Gill become a better player from 2020? Yes, there are a lot of players who've fallen by the wayside. But when you've got this large base and you look at your key players and say, are they getting better? Even someone like Shreyas. Has Shreyas Iyer got better in the last 2 years? Of course he has. So you see, all these people are actually getting better. There's some who are stagnating, yes, but players are getting better.
Well,
and Harsha, they're stagnating because there's so much competition that they can't, it's just the kind of thing. If you look at India's, say, T20 side or ODI side, could you have not put a second side? You could put a second side and equally justify almost everyone there. Other than fast bowling, perhaps, out and out ODI fast bowling, you have 2 teams. India can put out 2 teams at any point in time.
Well, there's something the Pakistan coach said which I found very interesting, because we're talking about, is this the best team, that combination that they have? He said a common person who's not a part of the management wants reasons and names of people because of whom this team is losing. As far as Babar, Rizwan, Shaheen, Naseem and Harris are concerned, our plan was to make the best possible 11 or 15.
And those are serious players, no? Those are serious players.
Continued and said that, and if you look at Babar, apart from him, what other options do we have? We always say that if the team loses, change the team. This is the most inexperienced team we already have.
I'm not surprised. I read some of the stuff that's written about Babar Azam. Listen, Babar Azam is a serious cricketer. He's not a Johnny-come-lately who's hit a couple of hundreds. He's a serious, proper player. Good judges all over the world have rated Babar Azam very high. I listen to the way people talk about Babar Azam. And I think, wow, he's your best batter by a long margin. Are you ensuring that he's in the right frame of mind, feeling great about going and representing Pakistan? Or the things they're saying about him. If I read what people are saying about Babar Azam, I think he's averaged 11 over the last 15 years. I mean, you've got to respect your players too.
He's averaging
anyway, we can sit here in judgment of Pakistan cricket.
He's averaging 55. I mean, it is. I totally agree that. Look, you have a smaller base of people to pick from, for starters, because it is a smaller country, your system is a smaller system. So now you've got yourself a gem like Babar Azam, okay? For you not to respect it, not to nurture it, not to protect it, just doesn't make sense to me.
And like you said, because they don't play so many leagues across the world, yes, we understand that sometimes you can be out of form. But what excuse do you have for the fitness? We have seen how Prithvi Shaw's sidelined because of fitness. So when you're playing cricket for your nation, you can't give excuses. Form is all right. It will come back, it will go, it will dip. But what about the fitness? It's been a major concern for Pakistan.
I think that an opposition captain should go to a press conference after his team has lost and speak in awe about the fitness of one of the players in the opposition, but who stopped you from doing it yourself? So I don't know what the focus is there. It's very easy for us to sit here very far away and pass judgment on them. I don't know what's in their minds. I don't know what the focus is. Is the focus on, I'll get better tomorrow? Is the focus, I will get fitter tomorrow? They're in awe of Virat Kohli. They look up to Virat Kohli.
Yes.
But are they trying to be like Virat Kohli? Virat Kohli looked up at Tendulkar. He still bows. He still looks at Tendulkar like that.
Yes.
He's trying to become a Tendulkar. So you're looking at Kohli, but are you trying to say, I will be fit like him? Are you trying? Are you doing that? So I don't know what air they're breathing. Eventually, it comes down to that. If you're happy, you tend to play better, but we don't know that. As I keep saying, it's very easy for us to sit here and say what they should do. But I think in one word, that would be the answer. Are people feeling great about being in that change room and playing for Pakistan?
But Joyda, do you see a knee-jerk reaction and again a lot of chopping and changing with leadership, with coaches again after this?
See, what's going to happen is you don't have immediately a major tournament. I mean, so basically what happens is Pakistan cricket for a long time, firstly, they haven't played a lot of home games. They've just had the PSL coming in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And that's what they've celebrated. And Pakistan hasn't travelled that well in the recent past. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think, even if they have a reaction, it's not going to make much of a difference, because the only difference that can be made now, which can make a difference to Pakistan, is systemic. Have stability, back a few players, say that, okay, here's my 12, 18, 24-month plan for doing something. Do not expect results before that. And Harsha said one very important thing, that there are some things that you can fix immediately. You can fix fitness.
Correct.
You can fix fielding, you can fix fitness. These are two things that are in your hand. You can't fix that you'll win matches. You can't fix any of that, but you can fix these two. And secondly, the other question you have to ask is, do I have enough natural talent? Of course you do. You have Naseem Shah, you have Shaheen Shah Afridi, you have Babar Azam, you have Fakhar Zaman.
And new players coming, Salman Agha, Saud.
Yes.
Salman Agha is a terrific prospect. So you have players, you have a core of 6, 7 very decent players. I like Babar Ahmed. Whatever I've seen of Babar Ahmed, I really like. So you have a core. So now say, okay, 24 months, what's my plan? And I'm not going to compromise on fitness. I'm not going to compromise on fielding. These are two things that I'm going to hold everyone responsible to. Yeah. And don't expect results. We're going to grind this period out. Because you're not going to get results if I'm going to change another 5, throw another 5 players out, get another coach. It's not going to change anything.
You asked if there'll be a knee-jerk reaction. They all have knee surgery already. That's how often they've been jerking their knee and changing things around. So it won't help. I think Aqib is right. So what do you do, knee-jerk? You change the captain, you change the selector, you change everything, but you're fishing in the same pond. It's not that you're going to go out of the pond and start fishing in the ocean. So you've got to say, this is what we are. Your pond is still far bigger than New Zealand's pond. New Zealand is a tiny pond. There's 25, 30 players, that's it, who are good enough to play international cricket or for consideration in international cricket. If they can produce a consistent world-class team, you have a bigger pond. You should be able to do that too. That's how you're fishing.
Yeah, well, we don't know how they're fishing and what's stopping them, but...
I think the shorter the game, the better they'll play. So you watch at the T20 World Cup, they'll be a very different side. Having said that, they went into a super over against the United States. And I hope that super over is seen again and again and again, because nobody can ever bowl a super over like that.
Well, I want to have a look at what Bangladesh is going through, because they at least had some kind of a silver lining in this tournament with regards to the bowling department. The major concern there, Joyda, is the dot balls they've faced in this tournament. 341. That's dot balls of a complete ODI itself. So that is something that Shantu spoke about as well. And he said they're not getting enough runs. This is what he had to say. We need to improve a lot as a batting unit. I don't mean there will be changes in the players. We have to give them opportunities to the resources that we have. I think we need to make changes in our thinking process. We don't score 300 runs regularly. So at least they're thinking in a direction, they're accepting where they've fallen short.
And they have the batting talent to do it. Tawrid Rida has done well for them. He's the one who's got a century. Shanto has got a 50. They've got players who have, performing on and off. I think the two things I'm looking at and I'm wondering, one is that huge gap, because it's not just a gap as just a player, but it's also a gap as a personality or something. The huge gap that is Shakib. Shakib is a huge miss for them, because he's also somebody who played at a level which was far different from them. If you look at the 2019 World Cup and the way Shakib played, I mean, he carried them.
Yes.
So that's one huge gap that they're missing. And secondly, therefore, nobody else has stood up. So my problem is they're going back to the Mushfiqurs of the world. They're going back to the Shommo Sharkars of this world. And you were told, you turned around and said that we've looked at it and said that, okay, the Tawrid Ridas are here. The new generation is here. The Litton, what happened to Litton? It was one player that India was literally scared of. He nearly took India apart in a match, And suddenly these guys have just gone off the boil. So the question they have to again ask themselves is that, what can we do? What are we doing wrong? And I think the way they're trying to rotate and say Shanto being the person that they're going to bat around, I don't think that there's working. I think their rotation, especially in that overs between 11 and 40, I don't think they're doing a great job there. They're getting stuck every time.
Harsha, you think with them again, they go back to the old horses like he spoke about, they go back to the Mohammedullahs. Is there a problem in the selection with Bangladesh, or do you think they should stick to this 15 that they found?
When you keep going back to players, not just Mahmudullah, they went back to Shamma Sharkar.
Exactly.
When you keep going back to players, it means the present isn't growing the way you want to. And there's a nice core in that present. If you look down that side, who are the players that you say, oh, he can play? Joker Ali, he can play. Tawhid Ruda, he can play. Tanzid Hassan, yes. Mehdi Hassan Miraj, definitely. Rishad Hussain, probably the most impressive of all the bowlers that's come out. Nahid Rana bowls 150 plus. Taskin has come back. Tanzim Hassan, yes, when he's not on social media, very, very... but he can bowl. So you look at this team and you say, yes, they have the core, then why are they not doing it? I think you look at teams and say, are players becoming the players they could have become? Shakib, could he have become the player? Yes, he did. Mushfiqur Rahim, yes, I think within the limitations became the player that he could. Tamim Iqbal, I think could have gone even higher, but there were a lot of issues. He was injury prone, whatever, but Tamim was a serious player for them. But thereafter, look what has happened. None of the players have become the players they could have become. That is the challenge with this generation. Can this generation of young players become those kind of players? But already there are alarm signals. In that Taskin Ahmed has had to come back now. When you first saw Taskin, you thought, wow, this kid can bowl. When you saw Liton Das, you thought, wow, he can play. So already we are starting to see signs. So they'll have to be very careful that this very talented core that they've got should become what we think they can become.
I always look at the Bangladesh team and I remember one player who when I first saw him, I was absolutely stunned by him. The player called Mohammad Ashraful. He had everything. All the gifts in the world, all the talent in the world. In fact, I think Mumbai Indians had him for a while, right?
Just one season.
Just one season.
One season.
He had all the game.
He had a wow. He had a wow button here and a self-destruct button here, and he kept doing this all the time.
Yeah. And so that's what, I mean, you look at it. On the other hand, you see Shakib. Shakib has given you a body of work, ICC all around, over so. So I think, who is it that you're following? What is the precedent that you're going after? And I think really Tawhid Ridoy, all these, I mean, Mehdi Hassan Miraj, I think is super talented.
Yes.
Super talented. He can give you, and Bangladesh have this, spinner all-rounder kind of category. They have players there. They just need to get their act together. And they also, somebody needs to take responsibility. Right now, when Shakib would come, at least Bangladesh, he'd say, I'm going to try and win this match myself.
Yes.
I'm not going to depend on anyone else to do it. Now, whether he did or didn't, he would carry the team a lot. There's nobody there now that you look at who's going to turn around and say that, it's my responsibility to make sure this team reaches 300.
Well, both these teams, someone needs to take the responsibility, and we have taken the responsibility to give you lots of entertainment today because the rain is still on, the covers are still on, it's a very, very wet outfield. So we're going to go straight into that part of the show which I have never any answers to. Let's have a look at the joy factor question of the day. Go for it, Joy.
Okay, Gus Atkinson is the last bowler to achieve which feat? Achieved by only one Indian back in the 80s. The one Indian back in the 80s is the hint. And, okay, it's a test cricket feat.
Yeah. No, you don't have to make it...
No.
I can see that you're thinking very hard, but we'll give you that time and we'll give
I'm just
everyone...
thinking, what did Gus Atkinson do recently? He got 10 wickets and got 100.
Joyda's keeping the poker face on.
I'm trying to say 5 wickets and 100, trying to go through a couple days, hundreds. So let's see, I don't know.
All right, so we'll give Harsha the time and Joyda will keep that poker face on, but do write in with all your comments. You'll always do it very quickly. We'll be back with all the updates when the toss happens, so don't forget to join us there. Thank you so much for watching Cricbuzz Live.